Welcome to Guestimators, the quiz that gets inside the brilliant and bizarre brains of Britain. I'm Andy Bush, and every week we ask the British public life's biggest questions, like how much would you need to be paid not to brush your teeth for 3 months? This week we are delighted to be joined by writer and comedian Olga Koch. Born in Russia and educated in the UK and the USA, Olga's first stand-up show, Me, debuted in 2016, and 2 years later, she was nominated for Best Newcomer at the Edinburgh Fringe. Since then, she's appeared on our TV screens in QI and live at the Apollo, won the 2022 Writers Guild Award for Best Radio Comedy, and performed her critically acclaimed Olga Koch Comes From Money across the UK, a show that she's about to take on a global tour. Olga, welcome to Guestimators.
This is the most incredible intro I've ever had. Can I cut it up and send it to my dad?
We're going to print it out and send it to you. What about that? It's brilliant to have you on. How are you doing?
It's brilliant for Bush and Koch to be together.
Bush and Koch. The combination no one knew they needed.
At Spotify Studios. Thank you so much for having me.
And you're about to take your tour to Southeast Asia. I've just looked at the dates.
Yeah.
How exciting is that?
I'm so excited.
You're going to like Vietnam and
I'm going to
Australia?
Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore, India. It's going to be great.
And how does someone book something like that? Do you say, right, I've got a bit of a following over there, let's go there? Or do people just try? How do you book an international tour like that?
Oh my God, ask my agent. I don't know. It's just they tell me and I go there.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very, very excited.
And when you get some time, I know, stand-up comedy, we get, a lot of stand-up comedians on this podcast, and it's like you're constantly traveling. Maybe sometimes you don't get enough time to take in your surroundings. Well, if you go into some of these beautiful places, will you get a chance to have a swim in a pool and take it easy a bit, or not?
I'm very guilty of FOMO, and I'm very guilty of like overstuffing my day with activities. So I've sort of made a deal with myself that I won't have enough time to see everything. So I have to just completely sort of abandon the idea that I will, but I have to do like one cultural thing a day. So I have a spreadsheet, and I have that one thing for each city.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, can you give us an insight as to maybe one of those?
I feel like it's very genocide heavy when it comes to both Vietnam and Cambodia, but I feel like I will be educated and enlightened.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm weirdly listening to an audiobook at the moment about the history of the Vietnam War. I'd love to go and see. There must be some incredible stuff you can go and see.
Yeah, there's like obviously the Vietnam War Museum, but from the perspective of Vietnam, which I think is in the West we get very rarely.
I agree, yeah.
So I'm really, really interested because I think one of the most interesting things about war museums. Woo! Let's go. We're cooking with gas. It's less the facts of it because we're like more or less familiar with them. It's about the sort of the prism and the propaganda and the biases that locals have. Because like the World War II Museum in America in New Orleans is a crazy place.
I bet.
It barely mentions Europe. And in a way you're like, yeah, I guess it's not really relevant to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the interesting thing about the Vietnam side of things would be, I think we've all grown up on like, 80s movies like Platoon and everything like that, where, the Vietnamese side were just these kind of shadows in the
Yeah, or
Good
Good Morning Vietnam. I saw that recently and I was like, are you kidding me? It's like they portray Vietnamese people as desperate to learn the English language. Are you kidding?
And then, I'm sure everyone asked you about this, but obviously your dad used to be the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia. You lived in Russia until 13 and then moved to the UK, is that right?
Yeah.
Are we more different from the Russians here in the United Kingdom or less different than we think overall?
I think we're very similar.
More similar.
I think the fundamental similarity between Russians and British people, and this is a hill that I will die on, is that given the choice of you being happy or your enemy being miserable, you would choose the latter.
Yeah. I love it. And then how do you feel about it? It's a weird time, obviously, international politics-wise. We won't get into it, but it's a weird time at the moment. Is it changed how you feel about being Russian, or how do you feel about your roots, your heritage at the minute?
Oh my God, that's a really loaded question. Oh boy. Yeah, no, there's a lot. I mean, obviously I'm on Ukraine's side of the war, and obviously I think that I would say the majority of Russian both foreign policy and internal policy is appalling. That being said, I think it's unfair to sort of make generalizations about people.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to it. I think as of recently, because obviously people will ask me about it, I feel a little bit of a fraud because I haven't lived there full time since I was 13, 14.
Yeah.
So whenever I do like say something about Russians or how Russians are, there's a voice in my head being like, you're not Russian. Who the hell do you think you are? Like if a Russian comes across my take, they'd be like, I don't know this bitch.
And then quizzing wise, to move on to quizzing before we get stuck into this right now. I mean, I was watching an amazing clip of your incredible knowledge on Celebrity Mastermind. Tell us what your specialist subject was, Olga.
It was American Pie. I got every single answer correct. I'm I'm quite competitive when it comes to quizzing. I'm not going to lie. I do have a House of Games trophy. I also did win a Celebrity Point List. So I'm here to win or I'm here to flip this table.
Statement of intent from Olga. But just watching your changing expression when you're answering those questions. I've never seen anything like it. You're in the zone.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to be funny or charming. I was there to win.
Well, listen, we mentioned quizzing. The main reason we are here is to quiz. So let's get stuck in following a recap on how it all works with Matt Cutler, a.k.a. the Statman.
Thank you, Bush, and welcome, Olga. So, Guestimators, we've compiled a group of people from across the UK representing a wide range of backgrounds, ages and interests, and we call them the Guestination. You'll hear us mention them quite a lot. We ask the Guestination a series of questions to which there's no correct answer, and your job is to try and work out what the most common answers were to said questions. Quite simple, I think.
Simple as that.
Yep.
Our listeners have been playing this quiz all week, but now it's you against Mr. Andy Bush. It's Koch against Bush.
Just make that
Ain't
podcast
that the
happen. Ain't that the truth? Story of the world.
There'll be 3 rounds, and I'll take your answers. That is all. So let's just get stuck in. This week's Guestimators quiz is called Bolognese, Brushing and Breaking Barriers. Okay. And round 1 this week was inspired by an incident I actually had when I found myself on a train with a packed lunch that I'd spent ages putting together, and I didn't have any cutlery, even though I thought I packed it, and I had no access to cutlery either.
Okay.
So it made me think to ask the Guestination to think through the following scenario. They're on a train with yesterday's leftovers of spaghetti bolognese in a Tupperware, but again, they don't have access to cutlery. But what would they use as a makeshift alternative to cutlery?
This is a very, very current and relevant question because a couple weeks ago, there was I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there was this sort of quote unquote scandal on social media that these influencers, I want to say in New York Fashion Week, were at an Italian restaurant and there was a huge plate of pasta and one of them did a story. This is, I don't know exactly the details, but they just grabbed the pasta with their hands and ate it. And people were like, oh my God, what is this? So that's, you don't know how sort of zeitgeisty you're being with that question.
Great. I didn't realise. Well, let me ease you in with the first question. Did more people on the Guestination say they'd use a mobile phone cover or a plastic bottle?
Ooh. Which of those two would make a good improvised spork?
Okay, so I think a mobile phone case is easier to fashion into, because it is essentially a handleless spoon, whereas with a bottle, I mean, I guess you would have to be using it to squeeze the pasta up and then sort of pour it into your mouth. So I'm going to go case.
But have you? When was the last time you took your phone case off and gave it a little bit of a clean? Have you done that recently? It's weirdly enough, I did this the other night and it's actually disgusting.
Oh,
look
it's
at this state of
probably
Matt's
vile
on
in there.
That is horrible.
Look at this.
It's probably vile in there.
That's Matt's the inside of Matt's phone case, and that's like a petri dish.
I wouldn't be touching that.
I wouldn't be touching it in years. So you reckon the spoon suck up and fire back in again, possibly? Do you think, or what are you thinking?
I'm thinking case over bottle because a bottle doesn't map onto cutlery as easily as the case.
I mean, you're in transit a lot doing stand-up comedy. You're traveling around the country.
I love how you're trying to do bits and chat with me, and I'm like, I need to win.
Tell me the score. Am I right? But when you're traveling around, do you eat well, Olga? Do you look after yourself?
Oh God, no! Are you kidding? I mean, I think one of the most detrimental things that happens to you as a stand-up comedian, especially when you go full time, is that all your relatable observations are about trains because you're spending about 60% of your time.
What do you go for then? If the average Olga meal lunch, if you're going to head up, say you're going up to Edinburgh, what are you having on the train? What would you pick?
Oh my God, that's an excellent question. It's going to be Pret.
Yep.
It's going to be a posh cheddar and pickle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any sides with that, like crisps or?
There's going to be nothing at all, and then nothing at all to the point of not even a drink. And then you're sort of maybe a third way through that sandwich, realizing that you're eating cheese and baguette, which are some of the claggiest foods you could be eating together. Desperate for that water bottle.
Parched.
Yes. Your phone case can't save you then.
Well, I'm going to agree. I think it's case. There's no way anyone's doing that. I don't even know where the bottle thing has come from. It's ridiculous.
Fine, I'll take mobile phone cover for both of you. On that, I saw Rob Orton post on Instagram recently. He posted his ideal train food meal, and it was from Marks and Spencer's, and it was 3 pots. One was a pot of sausages. One was like a ploughman's pot. I don't quite know what that is.
He's a maverick.
And then one was a frittata. It's a frittata like an omelette, is it?
That's the diet of a Mediterranean child.
But he was just there mixing them together, and I don't think he had any cutlery either.
He's got incredible skin. There's obviously something working for him.
There you go.
That's what it is.
Go on, Giuseppe. Lunch is ready. And it's that.
Right, questions 2 on this round. I want you to tell me simply what was the most common answer and the second most common answer, and I'm going to give you some choices. So the top 2 are in this list.
These are things people would improvise.
Use as a
with.
makeshift cutlery.
Right.
Would they use a credit card? Would they
Are they
use,
snorting it? Come on, guys.
It's a set of keys.
would they use, like in a New York restaurant, fingers,
Yeah.
a paper train ticket,
Again, the structural integrity of that.
a pen, or the lid of the Tupperware?
Interesting.
So there's one. So credit card, fingers, paper train ticket, pen, the Tupperware lid. 5 options there. What was the most common answer? What was the second most common answer? And if you say one of them in the wrong position, I'll give you a half point.
My friend Richie uses his Oyster card quite a lot. If he's bought a Tesco's like pot of pasta and he hasn't got anything to use he's forgot to pick up the
You're
fork.
just name dropping Richie.
Richie-
You're naming and shaming. You could have just said my friend, but
My
you
friend.
said no, it's Richie.
Richie Firth. I do the home time show with him on Absolute Radio. He uses his Oyster cards. Where that card's been, I don't even want to know. Anything jumping out from those little that little meze of improvisation from Matt there, Olga?
I'd say fingers, because the thing is, okay, this is what I'm hearing. You're eating without cutlery, right? And so what you need to be balancing is 2 things. The number 1 axis that we're balancing is comfort, right?
Yep.
Is this a convenient thing to eat with? And so, in my humble opinion, a bottle is failing on that. And the second axis is public humiliation, right? And I don't think it's not even marginally less embarrassing to eat with a pen than it is with your hands. And it is marginally more convenient to eat with your hands than with a pen. So, you know what? If you're going to be equally as embarrassed, go with the hands.
See, I have this. I subscribe to this thing. It's like a fake religion called knife and forkism, which I can't touch. I don't like eating food with my hands at all.
Okay.
So I'll eat a pizza with a knife and fork.
Okay.
I'll eat donut with a knife and fork.
Oh God.
And a
okay.
burger.
But yeah, burger with a knife and fork.
Yeah.
So I there's no way I could do the whole hands thing. I don't think. What's your view on getting stuff on your hands when you're eating? You okay with it? Would you like to join knife and forkism?
No, I do. I have a variety of knife and forkism where if I can help it, I won't touch a crisp. So
Okay.
what I do,
It's a bit like the Church of England. And then
I'll see. Some people use chopsticks to eat the crisps. What I do is I grab the bag and I squeeze them directly into my mouth.
yes.
Sort of like, do you know one of those like ice lolly things?
Yeah.
So I kind of understand. I understand the
I know what you
school.
mean about crisps on fingers. It's disgusting, isn't it? Or if you do-
film.
Yeah, the film. And if you have like if you have prawn cocktail and you're driving, you get it on your steering wheel. It's
Or
disgusting.
Doritos.
Doritos.
Ooh, the powder.
Oh. But also, you know, like if you get a bag of nuts these days, you can kind of. I think it seems okay now to funnel nuts.
Absolutely,
if that's not a weird phrase.
In your mouth like a trough. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the future of crisps. It's just drinking them
Yeah. Or maybe fundamentally, isn't that what Pringles had in mind?
with the tube.
Yeah.
Now it all makes sense. Yeah, wow, if you work for Pringles, do get in touch. We've been getting this wrong all these years. Making some big discoveries on Guestimators today. So out of all of those, we were first and second place.
Yeah, first, for most common answer and second most common answer, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna say hands and pen.
Pen.
Again, because it's like we're talking about pasta, right? Like if it was mash,
That's a good point.
I'd eat it with a card. But
Yeah.
I'm not eating pasta with a card. I can sort of see myself being able to lift spaghetti with a pen.
Yeah. I cut my spaghetti up like
Oh
that.
my God.
That's quite weird, isn't it?
The amount of information you're willing to just disclose. Wow.
Oh, dear.
Waterboarding couldn't get that out of me.
Oh,
You're a
dear.
confident man. I really appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you very much. I do like to overshare. Okay, so I will go with
You cut it up like a Mediterranean child.
but big friends of with Rob Alton and his family look like the Dolmio couple. I'm going to go card. I agree with that. And then just because you said that kind of went viral with the whole fingers thing, I'm going to say fingers for second most popular.
Finger second, and for the first one,
Card, agree. Credit card.
card. Or Olga didn't say that.
Oh, didn't
I
you?
said hand and pen,
Hand and pen.
and you said card and hand.
Okay, card
Correct.
and hands. Yep.
Correct. Okay, I'll tell you, there's one more question on this round. So there was one person on the guest nation. There's about 100 people on the guest nation. They said they'd use a key ring. One person said they'd use a keyring. I want you to tell me, on last week's quiz, what did this person say was the best tool in a toolbox?
Right.
So we get a bit meta here. And I'll give you some options. Did keyring person say the best tool in the toolbox was a drill, a hammer, pliers, screwdriver, or a tape measure?
So what kind of person would suggest a key ring to eat food with? And then how does that apply to their view of stuff you might have in your toolbox?
I don't want to make sweeping assumptions, but I will. And it's that a person who is not only has a keyring, but also is like so acutely aware of having it. Probably cares a whole lot about what the keyring looks like and what it is. Because I can't say that I've thought about my keyring.
Have you got a keyring?
Well, now that I'm thinking it, yes. But the only reason I have it, wait, can I show it to you?
Yeah, please. This is a really interesting thing. I might even talk about this on the radio show.
Okay, this is really important. So basically, the reason this keyring is important to me is because with the name Olga, here in the West, I never get a keychain with my name on it. And so I came across one and I was like, well, I don't even care if I like it. It's got Olga written on it.
I'm having it.
And here it is. It's Betty Boop. Olga's
It's
barely on
rubbed
it.
off.
It is rubbed off. But it's Betty Boop and it says Olga underneath.
Look at that. Is that a bottle opener as well, Olga?
No.
Just,
It just says Olga.
So when you go into your usual tourist shop, then Olga's not one of the names that you have
Obviously
on
not.
the little
Obviously
rack.
not.
What a shame.
You're Janet's, you're Michael's, but never an Olga. So
That's cool.
I could eat with this.
Yeah, it does look like
Shout
a
out
spoon.
Betty Boop.
We'll have to take a photo of that afterwards.
Can I show you mine?
Yeah,
so
go.
this is my keyring, which that looks
Oh,
like
is
there's
that for an AirTag?
an AirTag, but I lost the AirTag, which is a beautiful irony of that, and I
But have
can't
you
find
found-
it.
you-
No. I know. What
do you mean?
I think I dropped it on the street, and I only realised too late. So it's kind of like it was on the street.
You
somewhere.
can't lose an AirTag, though.
That's
surely.
the whole thing about an AirTag.
Well, I managed to do it.
The only man who's lost an AirTag. So your name's rubbed off yours, and his AirTag's fallen out of this.
But both look great to eat with.
Yeah,
They really do. They're both fantastic temporary forks. That's for sure.
Do you have a keyring, Bush?
No, I don't think I do. What have we got? Oh my god, ours looks like I've just got my keys off a letting agent.
Yeah.
With me and my partner's name on it, Andy and Katie.
In case you forget your names.
Yeah.
Or
Andy.
if someone finds them, like, oh, we just gotta go find Andy and Katie. No more information.
I do need it. It's a really good point. I need a keyring because I think a keyring is like a statement piece, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You slap down Betty Boo, people know a little bit about you, don't they? That's for sure. Okay. Well, what are we thinking for the tools for this person?
Okay,
then,
so
Olga?
if you are aware of a keyring, I'm almost imagining a person who's sort of quite aesthetics driven,
like it.
and that makes me think tape measure. Because you're measuring, I don't know, your wall to hang a painting or something, right? You're living the soft life.
Well, I don't know. I'm drawn to drill, and I don't know why. I've just got a feeling about them. I'm going to say drill.
Okay.
I'm going drill.
Okay, I'll take tape measure for you, Olga, and drill for you, Bush. That round is done.
Olga's eyes are narrowing again, like she was on the Celebrity Mastermind clip I watched earlier on. I was about to get into these first round scores.
Right, so the answers are in. Did more people say mobile phone cover or plastic bottle? They said mobile phone cover. You were
ding,
both
ding,
right
ding,
on that.
ding,
Yeah,
ding.
you
Boom.
both
Yep.
got one there. I can tell you the second most common answer was fingers, which I'll give you a half point for, Olga.
Thank you so much.
You actually put that second, Bush, so you get a full point for that.
Brilliant. As you can tell, I never really remember what I've guessed in this quiz.
Okay.
The most common answer was actually the Tupperware lid. The lid of the Tupperware to use it.
I think that's absurd.
Well, yeah, because I mean,
absurd.
wouldn't it be too big?
So
Yes.
Wouldn't it be far too big? What's the difference between using the Tupperware lid and just sort of
Yeah.
tipping the Tupperware over into your mouth? They've got the same area.
The Guestination are an incredibly frustrating group of people. The people that we survey.
Have you ever had like a party for them?
Just a really good idea. We should do a get together with a Guestination.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us survey you over these years.
Yeah, and you
weirdos.
have so much data about them. You can throw them the best party ever. Just
Yeah.
Tupperware lids everywhere.
We knew you'd enjoy that kind of buffet starter, Alan, based on your responses.
The problem is there's quite a few. I mean this with respect, and I really need them. There's quite a lot of weirdos on the Guestination. Is that fair, Bush?
Well, we've found out right now because they think it's completely acceptable to eat with the Tupperware lid.
Yeah.
Well, even better than that, before I give you answer to question 4, I've actually got a voice note from the person who said keyring. I asked them to explain why they said keyring,
Okay, I need to know.
but here's what they had to say.
Hello, this is Catherine from Solihull. I think most people have some form of trinket on their keyring which could be used to eat leftovers. I have a 3-legged gecko on mine, ideal for wrapping spaghetti around.
That's it.
That checks out.
She did accurately describe Olga's keyring, though, didn't she? It's got a trinket type thing on there, I guess.
Yeah. I guess maybe the name Olga's rubbed off because I've been eating so much spaghetti with it.
It works.
I can also tell you, that person's my mum.
Is it your mum?
That was my mum.
Oh.
That was my mum. That was her posh voice as well. You know when you like a posh telephone
Answers the
voice?
phone. Hello. What's your mum's first name?
Catherine.
Catherine.
Yeah.
Catherine Cutler.
Catherine Cutler.
Sounds like a pirate's wife.
That's a gorgeous name.
It is
She would love that. But anyway, Catherine, aka my mum, she said the best tool in the toolbox is a screwdriver.
Okay.
Neither of you got that, I'm afraid.
Fair.
Okay.
Don't know the logic behind that. But that means after round 1, it's very close. Olga, you're on a 1.5, and Bush, you're on a 2.
Oh, look at that. The atmosphere's
She didn't
changed.
like that.
Atmosphere has changed. Before we get into round 2, if you're listening and didn't play this quiz, make sure you sign up at guestimators.com. Every Monday, the quiz lands in your email inbox, and you've got until 6 p.m. on Wednesday to tackle it. This podcast right here is the first place to hear the answers and whether you top the weekly leaderboard. And if you're enjoying the show, please give us a rating and a review. It really helps us to spread the word. Right, welcome back. What have you got in store for us in round 2, Statman Matt?
For round 2 this week, we tried to see how difficult the British public perceives some of the most difficult human feats in existence. Because we asked them to rank the following feats from hardest to easiest to complete. Okay?
Okay.
There's 5 of them here. Number 1, climbing Mount Everest. Number 2, completing a Rubik's Cube in less than 10 seconds. 3, rowing the Atlantic Ocean solo. 4, winning a Grammy. And 5, winning an Olympic gold medal. So climbing Mount Everest, Rubik's Cube in less than 10 seconds, rowing the Atlantic alone, winning a Grammy, and winning an Olympic gold medal. We asked them to rank them from hardest to easiest.
Olga, have you ever achieved a thing, like a physical feat or an endurance thing or something like that you're proud of?
Well, I've run a marathon.
Have you? That's amazing.
Thank you.
When was that? I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people do it.
It was last year in Barcelona. I mean, I think I take pride in the fact that I ran the entire way, but at some point the running pace was slower than walking pace. But the sort of like the mechanics of it were never walking.
Yeah.
And that I am proud of, even though that people were overtaking me strolling.
It's an amazing thing, though. So did you learn something about yourself through being able to do that? I guess when you've achieved something like that, that's a thing you can do, you've done.
Yeah.
Would you ever do it again? No. Maybe
No,
not.
I don't think I will. But I do think it's one of those things that are quite rare in life where you're like, here is a thing that I've done.
Yeah.
And that feels very satisfying.
Were you worried about like having to do a wee or a poo whilst you were going around?
No, it was like pretty well. First of all, it was pretty well catered in that regard.
Do people stop in marathons to go?
Yeah, I did. But I also, because I've seen so many videos of people being like, just running and being like, just take pictures of the top of me because I've shit myself. And no, it did not get to that. But again, I cannot overstate just how slow I was. Yeah.
But that's amazing. So you've done a marathon.
Thank you. Yes,
That's great.
I have.
Well, so we've got 5 different achievements.
5 different achievements, yeah. I'll give you questions 1 and 2 in this round together. I want you to tell me, what did the guest nation say? What was the most common answer for what they thought was the easiest, and the second most common answer for what was the easiest? And again, I'll give you a half point if you say 1 in the wrong position. So yeah, climbing Mount Everest, completing a Rubik's Cube in less than 10 seconds, rowing the Atlantic Ocean solo, winning a Grammy, winning an Olympic gold medal.
So let's just go through this one by one just so you get your view on them. Climbing Mount Everest.
It is very difficult. That being said, it's one of those things that like is theoretically available to anyone.
Yep. Big up to you if you climb Mount Everest and listen to the podcast.
Big up.
Completing a Rubik's Cube in less than 10 seconds.
Again, available to anyone. Like the barrier to entry to these things is just sort of you wanting to do them. I feel like either people think that it's an impenetrable thing, doing a Rubik's Cube, or the Guestination knows that there is an algorithm to it, and if you learn the algorithm, you could theoretically just do it, and then it becomes with just a sort of dexterity thing of how quickly you move your fingers.
My dad has been learning to do it. He's like 70 odd, but he's learned on YouTube, and it's just there's like a sequence that you do.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you can do it really quickly.
And given the fact that I don't know where Guestination lies on whether it is magic to them or they know that there's a sequence to it.
Do get in touch if you believe the Rubik's Cube to actually be some form of magic. We'd love to speak to you. Okay, rowing the Atlantic Ocean solo.
See, that feels like a higher barrier to entry than the Rubik's Cube. Buying a Rubik's Cube is easier than organizing a transatlantic solo rowing trip. Not impossible, but yeah, it's for me. It's all about barrier to entry. That's the hardest thing because I think people are largely arrogant about their abilities.
Yeah.
So they like think they can do it, right? The way that like men on the internet are always like, I'd beat Serena Williams in tennis if I had the chance, right? So I think, as lovely as Guestinations seem to me, I would assume that they have a sort of arrogance when it comes to skill.
Yeah.
So here I'm judging all about barrier to entry
Love it.
not about whether they could actually do it. So like, how hard is it to fly to the bottom of Everest versus to organize a transatlantic rowing trip?
thing.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it. I totally
Or like
get it.
the easiest so far in terms of tools is just to buy Rubik's Cube.
Well, the other two, winning a Grammy.
See, that's a high barrier to entry to me. I just feel like there's just, no matter how good, the thing is, Guestination could be like, I can write a hit, but they maybe are sort of more realistic about when it comes to like getting it played by the radio, getting signed by a music label, getting it seen by the Recording Academy. Barrier to entry is higher.
Yeah, and then finally, winning an Olympic gold medal.
Okay, well, for some reason, I feel like people think that's easy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when you say that to people, they'll be like, oh, I'll win it in fucking archery or some shit.
Yeah.
Right? And they think it's because it's not a cardio sport that it's easy.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like the breakdancing thing.
Exactly.
It's kind of slightly opened the door to people thinking they could probably have a go and do it.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right then. So, most common answer for the easiest. What are you thinking, Olga? What you're saying?
If I'm being completely honest, I think Olympic medal.
Really?
I don't know. Just because there's so many things you can do, right? All the
Yeah.
other ones are a very specific thing, whereas here you could do any Olympic sport.
Yeah. Do you remember last Olympics as well, where they had that? I was the guy from Turkey who just like was the shooter, and he looked like he just rocked up and just like.
Had his hand in his
Exactly.
pocket, didn't he, the whole time?
Exactly. So again, none of these things are easy, but I think given the sort of variety of sports you could do, I feel like people can delude themselves into thinking that they could do it.
If you had to have a go at an Olympic sport, what would you reckon you'd be best at?
Oh my fucking God. Ugh. What would I be good at? I'm actually really good at snowboarding. I'll snowboard.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I'd love to be
Not
able to
the
do that.
like half pipe one. I don't know. I don't know if there's like a speed snowboarding where you just go in a straight line.
It's going really fast.
Yeah. Well, they do it with skiing.
Yeah.
Slalom, right?
Is snowboarding more difficult than skiing, or is skiing more difficult than snowboarding?
I have an answer for this as a person who does both. I will say skiing is easier to learn to a medium level,
Right.
but harder to improve on.
Yep.
Whereas snowboarding is difficult to learn to a medium level, but easier to improve on.
Like it. Getting a bit of an insight into winter sports here from
There you
Olga. Okay, so you're going to go for the
What
gold
would you do
medal.
in the Olympics?
I don't know what I would do. The guy with the hand in his pocket shooting inspired me a lot in
Yeah.
terms of armchair. Would you be able to just sit down like that?
See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I think Guestination did. Where they'd be like, "Oh, I could do that."
I could do that. Just sit down. You have your armchair brought out to wherever the Olympics are, and sit down and just shoot
Yeah,
with a cup of tea like that. Bag of nuts.
like turning on a TV with a remote.
Yeah, like that.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same motion.
I'm going to have to go Rubik's Cube. It hinges, like you rightfully have mentioned, on whether the Guestination believe the Rubik's Cube as like a magical item. It's based on problem solving
Yeah.
and not just like a sequence of different colours that you turn.
Exactly. I also will say, and then again, I don't want to make sweeping generalizations, but I think people think physical feats are more accessible to them than intellectual ones.
That's probably true. I imagine
So
that's
if
true.
you say, "Hey, could you win an Olympic medal or a Nobel Prize?" they would say Olympic medal.
Yeah.
And that, to me, Rubik's Cube is equivalent to the Nobel Prize in terms of academic sort of fervor.
So you go Olympics first, and what are you putting for the second one? Second
Rubik's
most.
Cube.
Rubik's Cube.
Okay.
I'm going to go cube first.
Yep.
I'm going to go to rowing the Atlantic Ocean solo,
Okay.
because I guess anyone can get in a bathtub and just float out there. So it's I'd say low barrier to entry, high barrier for surviving.
Yes.
Particularly like that, maybe.
Okay.
Isn't that life?
That is life. That's going to be the title of my debut book.
Okay, so I'm going to take gold medal and then Rubik's Cube for you, Olga, and then Rubik's, and then rowing the Atlantic for you, Bush. Final question on this round. What was the most common answer for the hardest? What did the guest nation think was the hardest of those feats to complete?
I'm going Everest. Even though the barrier to entry is low, I think people know how many people have died on Everest.
Yeah, there's been some good movies about stuff like that as well.
In the
so
way
scary.
that people have not particularly died trying to get a Grammy. I mean, they have, but not. But or doing a Rubik's Cube. So I think death is looming in the Everest one more so than any of the other ones. And I think like altitude sickness and all that stuff, I think it's quite scary, and that's why I think that's probably the hardest one.
I've never understood why people would want to go and do that kind of stuff. Did you see any kind of interest in?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it feels like that almost masculine instinct to conquer the world.
Yeah, standing on top of the world.
Yeah, to be like, I have tamed Earth.
I've tamed it. But what about that bit where they sleep on a ridge? I hate that. In a little mini tent on the ridge. Have you seen them do that?
I don't believe I have.
Sleeping on just like a little tiny bit of the edge of the rock. They sleep overnight. It sounds terrible.
I know how many people they estimate have ever climbed Mount Everest.
How many?
They reckon it's between 6,000 and 7,000 people in the history of.
Well, I've heard rumours of rumours on the mountaineering forums.
A blind item in page
Couple of guys.
6.
Well, I've heard they have people queuing to go across to get to the summit.
Yeah.
There's queues and there's loads of rubbish on the floor because people are leaving.
That's
snacks
horrible.
and all
Or
kind
the
of
fact
thing.
that people the bodies stay there, right?
Yeah.
Oh God. I just believe.
Although if you're going to go, what a way to go to be a bit of a signpost that people went past. You know, they might call me Blur Top.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a blur top, got frozen on Everest, then everyone kind of raises a glass of whiskey to me when they go by. That'd be right, wouldn't it?
And in 100 years, they might study you because you're frozen.
I ain't going to get in a Highgate Cemetery, am I? So that's my best shot. But yeah, I agree with Olga. I think it's got to be Mount Everest.
Okay, Everest.
For sure.
I'll take that for both of you. Okay, great. Answers are in. The second most common answer from the guest nation as to which they thought was the easiest was rowing the Atlantic solo, which is utterly mad, I think. But you got that right, Bush.
Boom.
It's 3,000 miles.
You know the destination better than I know the destination.
I am actually an idiot, so I have a kinship
No.
with them. I know I am.
Yeah.
I am. Thanks for not saying otherwise there, Matt. Appreciate
That's
that.
all right. But the most common answer was winning an Olympic gold medal, which, Olga, you got nailed on.
Can of
That
pop
feels good.
held aloft by Olga there.
Just to start on that, they reckon they must know this, but between 10 and 12,000 people have won an Olympic gold medal since 1896.
It'd be great to have, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Again, people are freaking delusional.
And the most common answer for the hardest was climbing Mount Everest, which you both got right. So you both got you both did very well on that round. Two
Smashed
out of 3. And that means going into the last round, Bush, you're on a 4, Olga, you're on a 3.5. It is exciting.
This is incredible. It's like
That's
extra.
the gender wage gap.
There you go. Bush versus Koch continues. So Olga, let's talk about you're an incredibly busy person. You do a lot of things, but you do a fantastic podcast called Glue Factory with Guestimators alumni Milo Edwards and Pierre Novelli.
Yeah.
So Milo was on a little while back, and we were just wowed by his ability to do impressions.
Yes.
Does he do impressions for you guys just like when you're hanging out?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what his real voice sounds like.
We never know. He's a man of many voices. And then, so obviously he's got, he wowed us with some incredible knowledge about life in Russia. Obviously you have, your whole Russian origins and so on. So did you connect via anything to do with Russia or Russians? Or?
I think we met because we were both doing stand-up, but we obviously bonded over the fact that we both lived in Russia. But it's very interesting because obviously his knowledge, he essentially moved to Russia more or less within a few years of me leaving Russia.
Okay.
And so his understanding of Russia is, well, first of all, later in history,
Yeah.
but also as an adult person.
Yeah.
So he has experienced things in Russia that I never did. And also, even though Russian is my first language and I speak it fluently, I speak it at a level I would say of a 14-year-old. So sometimes he'll drop slang
Yeah.
or even mortgage. And I'll be like, what is that?
So Russian is your first language. And then when you're talking to us right now, do you think and then convert that into English or do you think in Russian? Do you just think in English?
Yeah, I'm thinking in English.
I'm fascinated, but I can't speak any other languages, so I'm fascinated how people can do it. I think it's amazing.
I'd say the only thing I instinctively most of the time do in Russian is count. So if you see me working out or I don't know, counting M&Ms, it's a thing
How long
people
were
do.
you in prison for?
I will do it in Russian. I think the best portrayal of language in my opinion, in terms of like how people think
Yeah.
when they are bilingual, is in the movie Past Lives. It was very good. Have you seen it last
No.
year? It was very, very good. But basically, it was like there are lots of things at play, but one of the storylines is the fact that like the woman in the marriage is Korean American and her husband is just plain American, and he speaks English, and he talks about how like he's jealous that she goes to a different world that he will never have access to.
Oh, wow.
In her mind, because
Yeah.
she like has this whole Korean personality.
Yeah.
And I found that very, very poignant. My college admission essay was about how I'm two different people in Russian and English. So
Oh,
it is.
really?
It's an interesting thing to think about.
So do you go back to Russia very much at all? You go and visit, or?
I used to for my job, but because I had a day job before this. But once I quit, I started saying some unflattering things about Vladimir Putin on British television. So I feel like it wouldn't necessarily
I think we know how that goes.
be particularly safe for me to go back.
I was looking at your social media the other day, and there was a very interesting revelation you had about Tetris, the song and the movie, etc. Tell us a little about your Tetris revelation.
Okay, so Tetris, famously invented by a Russian, and Tetris. I didn't play it at the time because when was it invented? The 80s?
Yeah, it's been around for a long time,
late
hasn't it?
80s, early 90s.
Game Boy and
Game
everything.
Boy, yeah.
Yeah, and then Tetris had a theme tune.
Dun, 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 dun.
There you go. I don't think I was ever exposed to Tetris with the theme tune. Because I knew Tetris, but like I think by that time maybe the copyright had run out, and there were different versions of Tetris that didn't necessarily have the official melody. Anyways, so there was a movie, the Tetris movie, that came out on Apple TV. I want to say last year, and then the Tetris movie had a soundtrack where they, I guess, got a bunch of people to do like twists on Russian songs or Russian twists on American songs.
Yeah.
They have like a version of Blondie's Heart of Glass that's all in Russian. It's crazy.
Amazing.
I found all of this out yesterday. So yesterday I went to a K-pop show with a friend. I'm not particularly into this band, aespa. I didn't really know them before going to the show, but he had an extra ticket and I went. And I was having a great time dancing to the K-pop. And then all of a sudden, there's like a techno remix of a song that I only know as a 19th century Russian folk song that I can only sort of describe to you as an equivalent of like Greensleeves, right? Like to me, the context in which I would ever hear it in Russia would be people in national dress sort of doing dancing on some sort of like, I don't know, folk holiday. Yeah. Like a pagan festival. and then a techno remix of it starts playing at a pop show, at the K-pop show. And I thought, am I having an aneurysm? Is this how I die? Have they found me? And it turns out that a version of the song was the Tetris theme tune, and they took the Tetris theme tune and did a sort of like sexy spin on it.
Oh wow!
The song is nonsensical. The song is about how like one of us needs to die. I love you. Like, you know what I mean? But it was a really culturally out of body experience because it was a 19th century folk song that I remember as a folk song in a techno remix by a K-pop band who in that song was actually referencing a video game.
Yeah.
What?
But you know what? Just seeing your post about it took me back. I haven't even thought about Tetris for ages, but it reminds me of simpler times. It made me want to go and play Tetris again. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, it's a perfect game.
You know what I mean? It's
perfect
like
game.
You don't have like graphics problems if you haven't got the right, computer or whatever to play it. It's dead simple. The music was catchy, as we've just mentioned.
It's true. That being said, I think there is a sort of draw to simplicity when it comes to video games. Sorry, this is a rant that I go on regularly.
Yeah.
People think of gaming as like Call of Duty, Mortal Kombat, whatever the fuck. Apologies, whatever the hell.
No,
whatever
fine.
the heck. But gaming is so much bigger than that, right? And casual gaming, mobile gaming is, I think, like 50% of the gaming industry.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, it's not really complicated stuff. 2048 was a huge game, very simple.
Yeah.
Wordle, so simple. You could have played Wordle 30 years ago. It's a very easy game to program. So I think sometimes simplicity is ever relevant.
No, I agree. And I think as games, the graphics have got better and better, and weirdly enough, as things have got more visually stunning, they're telling less interesting stories, slightly as well. So you can make your own backstory up to Tetris and why all the little shapes spin. Is there a backstory to Tetris? Maybe there isn't. I don't know.
I don't know if there is.
It'd be good if there was. Well, maybe the Tetris movie, there's more insight in that.
Yeah, can you imagine if the Tetris movie wasn't about how the video game was created, but it was actually like the story of the little pieces?
Spinning Kingdom.
Yeah.
My God, it'd be so good.
I'm the long stick.
I'm a square. You don't need to rotate me, you idiot. And then let's talk about your tour very quickly. So we already know that you're going to be playing in some incredible locations. As a stand-up comedian, is there like a venue that is on your like bucket list that you would love to play? But before all this is said and done.
Oh my God, that's an excellent. Oh my God, okay, genuinely. Do you know the band The Insane Clown Posse?
No, I don't.
I do, yeah.
Okay, so The Insane Clown Posse, if I'm being completely honest, I don't know much about them. All I know is that they put clown makeup on and they do a sort of rap rock blend that's, I would say, reminiscent of Limp Bizkit.
Okay.
And they have a Christian skew.
Okay.
And they are very popular, I want to say in the Midwest of America. I might be wrong. But they're a duo, and every year...
So are these friendly clowns or scary clowns?
I think they almost look like Kiss, but they're wearing outfits like Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit.
Okay.
I promise this is real. And so, Insane Clown Posse fans are called the Juggalos. You may have heard Juggalos as a word. And every year they have a festival called The Gathering. And it's a sort of like, I want to say, a throwback to a simpler time of Glastonbury where everybody's just like covered in mud, throwing things at each other. And I've only ever seen pictures of The Gathering. I don't know much about it. But if I could play the comedy tent that I'm pretty sure doesn't exist at The Gathering, I think I would have completed my career.
I've never heard of any of this before in my
I
entire
want to
life.
do stand up to a bunch of juggalos. Do you want to show Andy a picture of a juggalo?
Oh my!
Yeah, that's The Gathering, baby.
That's terrifying. And you say this is a Christian slant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't look very Christian to me. Not the mass that I go to on a Sunday.
Yeah, I always assumed they were a bit like kind of Slipknot in terms of like, I didn't realise it was a Christian skew. I thought they were.
I don't think it's like openly Christian rap rock, but I think that
yeah.
there's a sort of like allusion to the Savior.
He is with us, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
it's gospel.
It's in more gospel. But if you're a member of the juggalo, you're a juggalo? Juggalo?
I wouldn't call myself a juggalo, but I am very respectful and fascinated with the culture.
Well, yeah, if someone's listening to this and they are a juggalo, is that a juggalo? Is that the right word to use?
Yeah.
Do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. This has
Yeah.
blown my mind. And do they ever play in the UK or?
I'm sure they do. You know how like people call it Anglophiles or Russophiles? I'm a juggophile.
Be careful with that phrase. Right, with that bombshell, it is time for our final round here on Guestimators. It is all to play for. What do you have for a Statman, Matt?
It's very exciting. So on round 3 this week, it's another question where we see how grubby the personal hygiene of the British public is, because we asked the guest nation to estimate how many times a year they forget to brush their teeth.
Oh my lord!
Yeah.
Do you ever forget to brush your teeth, Olga?
Can't say I do. That being said, I have an agreement with my partner that I think I get three tops choices not to. Like if I'm allowed to not do it consciously, on purpose, if I'm like too drunk or too tired, but only 3 times a year.
So have you used any of your tokens
Not
up
yet.
this year?
No.
Your grubby, dirty
I think
tokens.
the last time I did was around like Christmas party season.
Okay.
Where I was like, I'm not doing this.
Can't be doing it.
It's either when I'm too drunk or when I'm too cold to get out of bed and I'm
yeah.
too cozy and snug.
They should invent something which allows you to clean your teeth from the comfort of your own bed, shouldn't they? A little spittoon there or whatever. That'd be great. Okay, so at the moment you still have 3 tokens.
Yes, baby.
Available to
And I'm going to
use.
cash them in all in one go.
That's incredible. Okay. So,
I'd say that the most important thing here to consider is not the truth, but what they would be comfortable admitting.
absolutely.
And I'm sure this comes up a lot on Guestination.
Absolutely.
Yep,
well,
yep.
what's the first question?
First question on this round: who on average said they forgot to brush their teeth more times in a year, men or women?
Men.
You reckon?
Well, because I was like, obviously it's men. The correct answer is men. But then I thought, okay, double bluff, reverse psychology, blah, blah, blah. Still men.
I'm going to say women.
Women.
I'm going to say women.
Do you think women are more honest?
Yeah, it might be. I think you're right in that it's more down to something people are putting across rather than the actual facts on this.
How many times a year do you reckon you forget to brush your toothbrush?
I don't know. I don't think I'll get back out of bed and go and brush my teeth. I've forgotten to do it because I feel quite bad about it. But I've got this like absolute fear of having bad breath. Do you know what I mean? Like if someone's got bad breath, it's like scary, isn't it? So I don't know. Yeah, I always get back out of bed and do it.
Okay.
I have
Interesting.
terrible news. No, I'm kidding.
Just break it to me gently.
Okay, I'll take women for you, Bush, and men for you, Olga. Second question on this round. Who said, on average, they forget more times? Under 30s or over 60s? Youngs or olds?
Under 30s.
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like even if the over 60s it would be more embarrassing for an over 60 to admit it than an under 30. Because under 30, you're in your 20s, you're trying to figure your life out.
Just got back from a party, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Whereas I guess if you're over 60, you might do that thing where you put dentures in a little cup next to your bed and put a beer mat on top. I think my mum and dad, my mum does that. Just the back ones. Yeah, I'm gonna go over 60s.
Over
I'm going
60s?
60s.
Okay, nice. Good
I'm
Japanese.
going Maverick in this final round.
That's good. It's good for the quiz. Last question before we have a tiebreaker. What was the most common answer?
As a number of times a year.
If the guest nation forgets to brush their teeth, what was the most common answer given?
10.
10 times a year. That's a lot of tokens. That's your 3 free passes plus 7 more.
Yeah. I think it's more, but I think they think that this is an acceptable thing to say.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you may be right. I'm gonna go 20.
20.
I'm gonna go 20 times a year.
Okay, nice round numbers. 10 for you, Olga. 20 for you, Bush. Last question on this round. Oh, sorry, this is the tiebreaker. What was the highest one person on the guest nation said? The amount of times a year they forget.
There's always a weirdo. There's always a wrong un.
I'm going to say 100.
Kind of a third of the year. Forgetting.
Yeah, because I also think that sometimes... My question is, do they think they should be brushing their teeth twice a day?
Oh, yeah?
Because I think there's a lot of people who are justifying to themselves that they did brush their teeth that day because they brushed them once.
Yeah.
Which obviously is not enough. But they're like, yeah, sometimes it's either or.
A tooth day or not a tooth day.
Yeah, and I guess people are shagging. People are having one-night stands at other people's houses and they don't have their toothbrushes. You're not bringing a toothbrush to all bar one.
That's tempting fate, if anything, isn't it? Yeah. Very
That's
confident.
presumptuous. Yeah, seeing a condom in his wallet, seeing a toothbrush in his fanny pack.
I reckon the highest will be... I can go 35.
35. Okay, 35 for you, Bush.
This will be
100 for
interesting.
you, Olga. Okay, that is the quiz done. That is done. Answers are in. Who, on average, said they forgot to brush their teeth more times in a year, men or women? It was men. Quite clearly men as well.
Well done.
You gave me
Olga
that.
got
You
Bush.
presented to me on a platter.
Point
Because I think even with women's honesty and men's lies, they still lied to a number that is greater than the honest number from the women. Does that make sense?
It's a web of lies.
Exactly.
So that means you're just ahead of me now in this. Is
Just
that right?
ahead.
Just ahead.
Just
Yeah.
ahead.
Just for now. Come on.
And you gave different answers to the rest of the questions, which is great. Jeopardy for this. Who on average said they forgot more times? Under 30s or over 60s? It was under 30s.
Oh, no.
Because again, they're at all bar one.
That's what it is. Toothbrush.
With what? Maybe just a pack of gum at best.
Just seeing what happens.
The most common answer was 0. What do we think about that?
That's a real surprise.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I knew people would lie, but not so blatantly.
Yeah, that is outrageous.
Surely
Yeah,
at
like
least
if you're going
once
to
a
copy
year.
someone's homework, make it look different. Do you know what I mean? What is this?
Yeah, most common answer was 0, which means
crazy.
we both got that wrong. And the tiebreaker, we don't actually need it. The tiebreaker, the highest someone on the guest nation said, was actually 100, which you nailed.
Wow.
Very rarely someone nails a tiebreaker bang on.
You have a connection with the general public. Oh, there's
I
no
am
denying
the
that.
destination.
You are.
Just
she
a
is.
dental connection.
That means in the last round, Olga, you took it away from Bush, meaning you win 5.5 to 4.
Oh, thank God.
You're victorious.
The
It was
relief.
real dicey there.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
Thank
How'd
you
feel?
so much. I feel great. I feel like brushing my teeth, if I'm being honest.
It's a way to celebrate.
And there's a prize.
Oh my God, what is it?
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my God, is it a toothbrush?
Well, have a little look.
Oh, it's a Tupperware lid. Oh my God, this is gorgeous.
Limited edition Guestimators mug.
What? I get
Just
a
for you.
What
mug.
about
Get a
that?
mug.
That's so cool.
Have you got-
Thank you so much.
Have you got fancy mugs in your house, Olga?
Yeah, I love mugs.
What's your favourite mug that you've got? Obviously, in addition to the Guestimators. mug.
I have obviously my Sports Direct. I love my Sports Direct because it makes me feel so tiny, and it's great for soup.
Have a cup of soup out of a Sports Direct mug. That's living, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you for watching and listening. Thank you to our celebrity guest, the brilliant Olga Koch. Make sure you listen right to the end of this podcast to hear Statman Matt reveal who topped the listener leaderboard this week. We love hearing from you, so please let us know how you did on socials and with a voice note. And as ever, the voice note number is 07457 404 279. You've been listening to Guestimators. We'll see you next time.
Hello, Guestimators. It's Statman Matt here, rounding up the podcast as ever with the news of who topped the weekly leaderboard this week. Average score was 4, lower than usual. If you scored 4 and above, congratulations. It meant you only needed an 8 to win this week. There are a few of you tied on an 8, so it came down to the tie break. I can tell you that the winner this week was Dan Rose. Dan, congratulations. Dan actually got the first question wrong. He put plastic bottle instead of mobile phone cover, but then proceeded to get every question right apart from the last one, but nailed the tiebreaker bang on, just like Olga did with 100. Dan, very well done. Congratulations. Your first Guestimators win. I will be in touch with you about getting your prize to you. Thank you as ever for playing. I hope you enjoyed the episode with Olga. As ever, we are going to be back on Monday's bonus round with a new quiz for you to get your teeth stuck into.